All right, welcome back to the EduHERO Podcast. I'm the CEO, Superintendent of Indian Hill, Kirk Koennecke, and I am here with another amazing group of high school students. Today, I've got Senior Kincade Givens with me and Alexander King, a junior. Welcome, gang.
Hey.
Thank you for
How
having
we
us.
doing today? Good?
Good, yeah.
Pretty good.
Good. Thanks for being here on the podcast. So I want to start and talk a little bit about academic competitions that are going on during the winter season. A lot of people are paying attention to basketball and swimming and wrestling right now. But Alexander, you've been involved with the robotics program, and we've got a pretty competitive program. Can you tell people what a robotics competition is like?
So first, when you go to the robotics competition, you have to bring your bot, and during like the first 30-ish minutes, you have to inspect it. So it has to be within certain requirements. I think 16 by 16, if I can remember correctly. We have a measure in the robotics room, and make sure that the pieces are viable, nothing illegal. Like you can't have like a laser in there.
The equipment's got to be meeting a standard.
Yeah, it has to be like VEX equipment.
And who's going to the robotics competition with you?
Mostly my team. We got our teacher, Mr. Pepper. Shout out.
Yeah.
We also have another team, Will Palmer. He's he's the club's vice president.
And is a team consisting of a pair or four? What are we talking about?
So technically we have 2 teams of 6, although
Okay.
for my team, they haven't really been showing up, which has kind of been a struggle. Only one of my teammates showed up to the competition.
So we're actively recruiting.
We're still actively recruiting.
But when you have a team of 6, you guys are bringing this equipment, you're going to a site, and then typically there could be 20 to 40 to 60 other school districts involved regionally, right?
I think it's a bit less, because usually like at least 2 to 3 from each school, usually.
Okay.
Sometimes they have another more, because it's also middle school that goes to
And are
these
you
robotics.
competing for points, prizes, or are you trying to move on to another level? What are you doing?
So in the qualification, there's qualification matches where if you score well, like the first 16 gets to choose who their partners want to be, because there's 2 teams of 2 competing to get the most points, and whoever wins the tournament after that has the chance of going to state. And if you do well at state, go to Worlds, which I was luckily able to go to Worlds my freshman year.
And where'd you get to go?
We got to go to Dallas.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there's some high stakes here involved. The competition, I've seen a couple of these locally and regionally. The competition gets pretty intriguing as these teams move on and you kind of narrow the field. And throughout the competition, you're getting different attempts to kind of adjust, modify, tweak your plan. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, usually what we do is there's a chart about like who your teammates are going to be for the next matches, who your enemies are going to be. We usually go to our teammates, our future teammates, and talk to them about what the game plan would be like. At least for the past one, we were more on the defensive side because our intake didn't work because the code was a bit faulty. But
And you're taking a lot of your coding knowledge and then also your knowledge about building a robot,
Yeah.
and kind of combining those and collaborating to make sure that you have the right strategy or plan.
yes,
It's pretty complex, but also pretty competitive.
it is great.
Yeah, and so you're hearing all this, right, Kincade, and you have been doing some things differently, but I also think high level in terms of your experience-ship and your intern experience looking at the healthcare industry, a lot of probably transferable skills that you just heard Alexander talking about that are necessary to thrive in that environment. What have you learned about what's necessary to thrive in the environment you've been exploring?
So I've been exploring like athletic training in that route. So I've been shadowing with like Terry and Susan. Definitely like collaboration. Like I have to be able to communicate. I have to be able to observe. Like just being able to see what's in front of me and like go off that.
Are you seeing how a game day unfolds now from behind the scenes as you've gone through this schedule?
Yes, it's definitely a lot different than what I would have thought beforehand. Definitely a lot more preventative stuff taken, like making sure the waters are filled, making sure like they have what they need, and whatever else they show.
What are you learning about the communication skills that are necessary when you're dealing with, student athletes, coaches, other trainers, the medical partners around this whole experience as you're thinking about, hey, I might want to do this as a job someday, but what are you learning about what kind of communication skills it takes?
Yeah, so I didn't realize that they were all so connected. Like the coaches and the trainers are always like in touch with each other, even on off days, like whether it's a weather report or like injuries with their students. Just like keeping up to date, just making sure everyone's on the same page. It's definitely like a lot of communication goes through everyone and all the healthcare workers. Like in Beacon, if you're getting PT or done, they are always like they know what each other are saying and what's going on with each athlete.
And then once the event happens, probably much like what Alexander's telling us about a competition with robotics, a lot of nuances and adjustments and modifications along the way to treat people a certain way.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a bit of a creative side to it because there's no one way to treat an athlete. So just trying to do process of elimination to see what's going on and using what you can to make the athlete feel as good as possible.
Yeah, I love how you said that process of elimination, deduction. I think, Alexander, right, your teammates and you, real time, you're doing a lot of this deduction to kind of how do we make this better in the moment and how do we really just make that competition work for us to maximize performance in the moment. When you're working with these peers as a team, and we were joking a few minutes ago about, right, just even showing up becomes this idea. You guys are kind of getting ready here, right? Junior, seniors, you're thinking about the future a little bit and career paths for yourself, what you're interested in, what you're not interested in. How important is consistency?
Consistency for us is really important because if one day, like everyone shows up, it's pretty easy for some people to work on the robot because usually we can get like one or two people working on the bot, maybe one person like programming. But if, let's say, someone doesn't show up or other people show up and we don't have like time slot, sorry, let me rephrase that. If we're not able to meet every week and get the robot to a point where it's ready for the next week and the next week, and in turn, like for the competition, our performance on that competition would be abysmal.
It's going to be affected for sure, right? And in a negative way. I mean, and can you imagine, Alexander, if a trainer didn't show up for a sporting event and somebody needs help? What happens, right? So I think that professional responsibility sometimes comes from these activities which maybe don't have the same pressure as a paid job, but there's definitely expectations other people have around you, and they're high-level expectations, and it could lead to maybe the trip of a lifetime for a student, or it could lead to a paid gig in the future, or a reference, right, for a job. I mean, I'm sure you have built some important partnerships, Kincade, but also some personal relationships.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to shadow the Cyclones based on people that I was able to talk to. So I got to see the professional level of sports, and I'm hoping to reach out to more teams just to get more experience. But yeah, it's opened up doors for those who I'm networked with.
And now you're talking my love language, hockey.
Yes.
Cyclones. Maybe something you would have never done had you not experienced this, right? How important is something like an out-of-school internship experience to you? When you look back now, you've been at Indian Hill, 13-year club member, but when you look back at the opportunities you've been given in this public school district, where does this one rank? How important is it to you?
I would say I'm definitely heavily invested in becoming an athletic trainer and hopefully for an NHL team in the future. So it's definitely very, very important. Like, even if it wasn't something I necessarily enjoyed, it was good to network and being able to know people and have that contact that hopefully it can go a long way in the end.
Yeah, I mean, that is amazing. And Alexander, when you think about like your involvement with clubs and activities, not every school district has robotics, but more important than that, the computer science, the coding, the robotics opportunities, working with equipment like VEX. Maybe you would do that outside of school for fun if you were really passionate about it, but what do you get? What do you take away from this experience over time? How has it helped shape what you may want to do or not want to do in the future?
So what I want to do in the future is definitely some field of engineering. I haven't exactly decided on what field, whether it be like civil, mechanical, or computer hardware is on my radar. What I'm hoping to get from this is more experience in engineering in general, because the whole point of like whole aspect of engineering is trying to figure out how to make something work, even if you have to destroy it and rebuild it for like the 100th time.
And here in our district, people can take what's called Project Lead the Way courses, and they can literally go through kind of a career path in pre-engineering, learn about robotics and coding, do some computer science work, but more important, what you said is they learn to deconstruct and to construct things and problem solve.
It's a lot more hands-on, because I am also in the courses, and we do some stuff, but a lot of the robotics is more like, here's your goal, here's some parts, build it, do whatever you want as long as it meets the regulations, but it's pretty like free on what you can do.
Yeah, and I think the individualized or personalized piece of that I know is interesting to you, but as you're saying, it also allows you to maybe explore some of the things you may want to do in a career in the future, whether you've landed on it today or not. And what's great about it also is people get to see maybe what they don't want to be involved in as they go through some of these programs. One of the things we're working on as a district is kind of building these down, right? So that you get these experiences earlier before you graduate. So when you think about this, Kincade, like you've been involved in several activities. There's academic goals that most of our students at Indian Hill High School have, right? That are pretty high level. But where did this interest come? Was it family, was it school, was it both, to like want to help people and explore this kind of field that you're looking at now?
Yeah, I've been a part of sports since first, second grade. I've had my fair share of injuries, so just meeting with Susan and Terry, like just seeing how they can have a conversation with you, but also like help you, and they want to make you feel better. My mom actually pursued the same degree, so just carrying on from her as well. But just being able to be around sports, whether I play or not, super important to me, but also being able to help those feel better, because I know injuries are not fun.
Yeah, the proximity, and then obviously dealing with some of this, right? You start to have an empathy for that, but definitely being around some key role models, your mom and others. When you think about some of the academic courses that you take that maybe help you or reinforce this interest, is there someone that sticks out to your mind in your experience here at Indian Hill where you're like, wow, that teacher just really had an impact or an influence on me?
Yeah, I've loved anatomy classes. I took it with Miss Emery. Shout out to Miss Emery. She definitely sparked the love for anatomy. It's such an interesting course, whether you are wanting to partake in a healthcare the field, or if it's just something you'd like to know, because I mean everyone is the same, so it's very interesting to learn. And I've taken 3 anatomy courses now, 2 with college, so it's kept me going with.
And so you've also been able to kind of parlay this interest into some college credit along the way.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Alexander, how about you? Is there someone that sticks out in your experience here academically as you've kind of gone from second grade on here that has been impactful or influential in how you have been approaching school here at Indian Hill?
Hard to pick one, I'll be real.
Yeah, I mean, we'll only have 20 minutes though, so I need you to.
We do, yeah. Probably someone who's been pretty inspirational to me would be Mr. Pepper, because he's kind of helped me, like, trying to figure out, like, what engineering field I want to go into, like, since he's been here, since, like, sophomore year.
And Mr. Pepper's got a whole host of experiences outside of being a teacher, right? That in the career fields that maybe you're exploring as an expert who's now coming in and working with you guys, and so having that impact or the ability to talk to him and work with him is important, I'm sure. That's great to hear. As you think about like signature activities that you got to be a part of beyond robotics, beyond the internship, when you think back to when you were Little Braves, what were the things that you looked forward to getting to do here at school? and now you're going to take with you as like fond memories of being a student at Indian Hill once you leave? Is there a signature like field trip or event or activity that you just look back and you go, oh my gosh, that was like so cool?
I would say it's, I mean, I still do it now, but lacrosse, since starting back then, I've played with these girls since second grade when the program first started, but just the bonds you get from it and like just being on a team, it was a very good experience for me. I'm the goalie for the team, so just being able to interact with everyone, and it's just, you make friends on the field just as much as you do in school. So it's just really beautiful.
I mean, this is going to be hard to top because, first of all, I'm not really sure that I knew that I was getting to talk to the hockey person and the goalie today and now, right? Like, I'm kind of like a big fan of yours if you didn't know. But that's so cool. And again, when you're a part of that family for so long, right, you're going to have friends forever.
Yep.
And then those memories together. What about you, Alexander? Is there something that you point to in the past you like that was just pretty uniquely Indian Hill?
Probably something that would be uniquely in here would be at least the courses for like engineering, like the PLTW was really nice. I know in Florida, I didn't look too far ahead because I moved when I was young.
Yeah.
They didn't really seem to have that necessarily. We're definitely like a pretty gifted school. We have a lot of opportunities than most.
What do you think is, beyond the Project Lead the Way courses, what do you think has been the most challenging, maybe not that you weren't successful, you were probably successful knowing you, but what do you think was one of the most challenging courses you took before high school?
Before high school? Well, challenging would probably have to be because of the circumstance, but during COVID, orchestra was a bit harder to do.
Sure, for sure. Orchestra was tough at that time. Yeah. What about you, Kincade? When you think back before high school, was there a course that you go, well, I just stood out as, that was really challenging to me?
There's not one that's like comes out of mind right away, but I would definitely say probably more of like the math classes, because those were a bit harder. If you didn't get it, you kind of like would have to teach yourself in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I got honors in 7th grade, which was a little bit faster pace. So just getting used to the change of going from like a honors class is definitely a big change, but it shows that like there's a lot of places where you can grow and succeed in here.
Yeah.
Places where you can challenge yourself to be better.
So again, I'm putting you on the spot, reflecting and now thinking ahead a little bit. You're getting ready to make some transitions, and of course you're up, right? Kincade and Alexander, you got another year here. But like when you're thinking about next steps, we've heard a little bit about your career aspirations. What's next for you academically, and do you see yourself like living and working in the Cincinnati region?
I hope to get back with the Cyclones, staying connected. There's a bit more networking I'd like to do so that I can, because it's very hard to get into the professional realm of sports. But I feel like I got a good enough foot in the doorway. But just staying connected with those around me, whether it's the Reds or the Bengals. But I'm on a pathway with UC right now, so I'm hopefully going to stay in the Cincy area just for a little while.
Good.
But yeah.
So UC next year for you.
Potentially,
That's
yeah.
great, and it's nice to know where you're going right now as a senior. Maybe you can kind of relax a little bit mentally and emotionally now that those decisions are being made.
Yeah, for
This
sure.
is that time where there's a lot of stress for a lot of our 12th graders until they kind of settle with those decisions. Yeah, and Alexander, you're thinking ahead about that, right? Obviously, a lot of 11th graders are now visiting, they're thinking, they're narrowing choices, they're looking at places they may want to be with work or military or college. What are you looking at?
I'm currently looking at college-wise, UF, University of Florida, University of Central Florida, University of Cincinnati, Ohio State are on my radar, along with some other ones. You know, gotta keep some choices.
Well, I love hearing that as a professor that's an adjunct at UC and as a former Buckeye. I love hearing that your list.
Yeah.
If you need to talk about it, we can talk about it off the podcast. But some great schools. And again, as you're narrowing the field, besides the engineering opportunities or the major itself, what else are you looking at for what you want out of that experience? Like, are there things that you have on your list of it has to have this or I'm not going there?
Well, what I'm looking for is like how close to family am I? Because if I go to, I have family in Florida, I have family here, I have family in Pittsburgh. I can, as long as it's near family, I'm fine. If it's not a deal breaker.
But that matters.
It matters.
Yeah.
Like I can.
That's an important consideration, I think, when a lot of our students are applying for multiple schools, which happens in this school district, right? And a lot of times, as soon as they think, oh, I might like that place, then you have to start thinking about travel, logistics, how often would I see my family, and then, what am I going to be doing when I'm on campus, too. Kincade, did that help you to narrow the field as you were kind of thinking about that?
Yeah, athletic training isn't a popular degree, so some schools didn't have it or was more generalized, and like kinesiology. Most of the schools that I applied to had a 3 and 2, which is a bachelor's in 3 and a master's in 2. But mostly it was just in the area, being whether it was close with UC or Miami, I applied to as well. But the other ones, it just came down to whether they had the degree I'm looking for.
And again, this is all coincidence, but I worked at Miami a long time ago. But did you know that Miami and UC had amazing programs before you started to study them?
I knew UC did, and they do have like really good healthcare programs. I did not know Miami at first, but it also has a 3 and 1 like UC.
Yeah.
But
So it's interesting once you start to talk to people and build your network out and talk to your counselors, and then you have to think about all these other important factors like family and proximity, and then the budget and all those good things. When you're not thinking about school and you're not working hard, you both have very busy schedules, and I know that winter is busy for you. What's the go-to snack or meal when you get to like decompress with your friends or family and you're not at work? Alexander, is there like a go-to for you in Cincy?
Snack-wise, I don't really have one. I'll probably like, if we have any, like whatever gummies we have, like just something simple, like open the bag, pop them.
Keep some energy going.
And keep some energy going. If I wanted a meal, one of my favorite places is Jimmy John's.
Jimmy John's, and what's your order at Jimmy John's?
I get a regular, I get a #1 with lettuce and mayo on it.
Okay.
Some chips and a Dr. Pepper.
Okay, Jimmy John's. That's the first time I think I've heard that this year. That's a good call. Kincade, what's your go-to?
There's a bakery near my house called Boozley's, and they have really good treats. I can just walk to it from my house. They're called macarons, and they're just like a coconut thing, and those are really good.
Okay, tell me the name of the place again.
Boozley's.
Okay, we got everybody to put Boozley's on their list, and maybe you hit up Jimmy John's first, and then you go to Boozley's next, and then if you're lucky, you go to Cyclones hockey game and have a good time in Cincinnati when you're not here on the hill at Indian Hill, and checking out our amazing robotics program, which has gone to states and nationals, and we hope worlds again here soon. And we wish you the best with all your athletic training adventures and your future goalie. And I appreciate you being on the EduHERO podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, go Braves.